Is that girl? La 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 la. Who's that girl? Na 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 na. Is that girl? Na 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 na. Come on, yeah. Who's that girl? Na 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 na. Got us that girl. Na 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 na. Who's that girl? Na 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 na. Is that girl? Na 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 na. Who's that? Who's that? Who's that? Who's that? Who's that? Okay, let's see. Is it on? Am I live? Um, let's end. Oh, it says I'm live. I don't know why I can't see myself. Oh, there it is. I see myself now. Yay! All right, cool, cool, cool. Okay, let's do this. Highlight. That's is live. Up 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 is live. Boom. All right, y'all. What's up? Happy Tuesday. I am trying to make this a routine of adding lives back into my routine because I found myself being so bogged down with work that I stopped going live, and Lord knows that I never wanted to get to a point where I stopped going live and connecting with people because I love to talk. How can someone love to talk and not go live? That's just the reality of it. So let me get my stuff up. Let me make sure my volume is on. Okay, volume is on. Let me make sure my mic is connected. Okay, mic is connected. All right, y'all. So I wanted to go live really quickly. I have a few things that I want to talk about, maybe a few revelations that I've come to understand. If you're watching me live right now, just put hashtag live. If you're watching me on the replay, put hashtag replay. I promise you this is going to be a good one. I promise you this is going to be a good one. Okay. And I don't make that promise very lightly. This is going to be a good one because, again, it's a reflection of the seasons that I'm in and then what I've been talking about with my clients, what I've been talking about in my friend circles, and just really working on me as a human being. For those of you who don't know me, and maybe this is your first time seeing me, my name is Janelle Rocket, but you can call me Coach Rocky, or you can call me Rocky if you're nasty. Okay. I love AI. I teach AI. I show people how to leverage it and make money with it. Outside of that, I'm also a leadership and culture strategist. I work with corporations as well as organizations. And so I am going live today because a few weeks ago, actually, I think it was a couple months ago, I did an interview and let me make sure I check my sound. Okay, good. I did an interview, and in the interview, and here's what I want to say. I'm talking about my revelation. This ain't nothing to do with the person who's interviewing me because I love her to death. But she said to me, she was like, "You are the pivot queen. You are always reinventing yourself. You're always like finding a way to do something new or showcase something different about you. And I just love that about you. And to be honest with you, I don't know if I was cool with that. Like in the moment, I'm thinking to myself, like, oh yeah, I am I've had to pivot a lot. I've had to do some things, right? But I was sitting there thinking to myself, really want to be the pivot queen? Whew, hold on, let me share this identity. Listen. And so I I don't know if I've ever sat down and asked myself those questions. I don't know if I ever sat down and said, do you want to be the pivot queen? Or why do you keep pivoting? And it really caught me off guard because when you're interviewing in a moment, of course, you're just going to agree, you're going to move forward. But after that, I had to process that, yo, like, is this how people see me? Is this how people see me as the pivot queen, as the one who's always reinventing herself? Because what I came to understand about being the pivot queen and in my conversations with God was that God showed me it was actually a confirmation of confusion and chaos that I had normalized. God showed me it was a confirmation of confusion and chaos that I had normalized. And it wasn't that I didn't know how to make strategic shifts, right? Because I'm a hustler. I'm from the hood. I grew up in the hood. I am a freaking hustler. Okay. You can't tell me I don't know how to make shifts when I need to make shifts. If something needs to move, I'm gonna make it move. If something needs to shake, I'm gonna make it shake. That's never been an issue. The problem became mm, pivoting stopped being strategic and it became an identity. And so I really want to talk about that in today's live. So if you're joining me live and you're like, oh crap, she about to be all up in my business, and is, if you want to share this out, go ahead and share this out. Don't be shy. Don't be stingy either. But yeah, I want to talk about this because this is this is where I had to really sit and understand that an identity that opened doors to survival mode and identity stability, like finding a way to be stable, right? Like I like to say, I need my man stable because I like to shake tables. At the same time, I had identity instability. My decisions were pressure driven. My business was inconsistent. And I had to sit with myself and sit with God and say, no, we are not the pivot queen. We are not glorifying chaos and confusion. We're not building a brand from anxiety. We are not teaching clients survival-based business because this is not where you're going to end. This is not where you're aiming to be. There were things that I have been working on quietly, just being consistent, being steady. And there's parts that nobody saw because the only thing y'all saw were the shifts. Y'all didn't see the discipline, the consistent moves. And I felt like in my conversations with God, it's time for you to show what you've been building. It's time for you to stand up for your actual identity. And it's time for you to stop pivoting and start aligning. And so that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about how to know when pivoting has become your identity and how to get it back into alignment with who God has called you to be. Now, here's the thing, y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all how this is gonna work. I am a seller. I sell stuff. So if you're on this live, I just want you to know that I'm gonna pitch you something. Conquer AI is on school. Let me make sure I change the thing on here. Conquer AI is on school. If you would like to join, click the link and make sure that you join us. Okay. Also, I'm going to be having a virtual Friendsgiving coming up inside of the Rooted Circle. And that's going to take place on the 25th, whatever next Tuesday is. I would love for you to join me inside of the Rooted Circle. Matter of fact, let me grab the link right now. Because let me tell y'all, if I could come on here and talk about all these things with y'all, but baby, we're going to sell something. Okay. These are the two things I want to all right, both links are in there. Cool, 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 cool. So make sure you join either community for wherever you're at in your life. All right, so let me go through point number one. Pivoting is not a personality. It is a strategy you can only use when God says it's time for you to shift. See, the moment you use it to avoid discipline and avoid going a certain direction or avoid certain discomfort, like the moment you decide that you're not going to follow divine instruction or even the business strategy that you talked about with God, you get to a point where everything is done by pressure, by comparison, by panic. Like you get into panic mode. And I'll be honest with you, I've seen some of my friends, I've seen some of my clients get into panic mode. And I'm just like, girl, you got this. You got that bounce back energy. I talked to y'all about that last week. I'm in a season where I don't want bounce back energy. God, please remove bounce back energy away from me. Because the thing is, when you're pivoting, if you are constantly doing it by pressure, by comparison, by panic or by panic, when you pivot, it becomes a personality trait. So you end up with mismatched branding. You end up with scattered offers. You end up with inconsistent messaging. You end up with a business that is hard for you to scale without you because if you don't show up, the business don't show up. And so I had to really ask myself, okay, how is this becoming an identity? How is it becoming an identity and not your actual strategy? So I had to sit with myself. Okay. Number one, I had to say I was constantly like, it felt like I was constantly changing my direction of my business. Like, and I won't say my niche because my niche has always been the same, but some of you guys might relate to this. Maybe one quarter you're a coach, then you're a consultant, then you're a speaker, then you're an author, then you're a strategist. Like, and you change or you switch, not because the market has changed, but because you got uncomfortable in that season that you were in, or you got uncomfortable with maybe that dip in business and you decided to reinvent yourself or pivot yet again. Okay. The second thing was I felt like I was rebuilding my offers every time because I felt insecure because they weren't selling the way that they should have been selling. Like my program, my program didn't really change, but when I talk about rebuilding my offers, like adding certain things in, taking certain things out, dropping the price, like it was on my mood or the mood of the market. And that really started to dilute my brand. Because how is my brand going to change more than the passwords I got on my phone? I also have to say, starting new projects and because I have ADHD, it's easy for me to get caught up in creation. It's easy for me to get caught up in creating something new so that way I can see if this thing works versus the old thing. But what it did was that I wasn't working the old things to completion, or I wasn't working through the dips with the old things to figure out what changes or levers should I tweak. And because I kept launching new ideas and I kept and creating new things, it's like my real assignment became too heavy because once I would go back over here and I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to be doing this, but this right now is making me money, but I'm supposed to be doing this. I was literally in conflict, literally in conflict, literally in conflict. And I didn't recognize what was going on. And I think the last thing I had to really sit with was if God told me to build in one lane, but I kept creating these side lanes out of fear or lack, how was I ever going to have what I needed or have what I've called to have or be an assignment or even an alignment? And it's like, God, you want me to take this lane, you want me to go to this direction. Ooh, but it's a little shifty right now. And I'm gonna talk about I'm there was times where I knew I should have did something and then I saw somebody else do the exact thing. God is not waiting on you to get it together. If there is impact that needs to be done for his people, if you're not ready, he's going to call somebody else up who is ready. There are literally people praying for what you have right now and praying for your level right now. Oof. Listen. We don't exactly that. We don't realize it, but every tweak affects your brand. Every tweak. And I will admit and say I did not realize it until having these conversations with God and having these conversations with past clients or even clients that I'm working with now. Do you hear me? So there's some shifts and some commitments I've had to make. Number one, I'm committing to one identity for this season. And I like that you said 12 solid months. I'm committing to one identity for the next 12 months because I already know that there is the root work that God wants me to focus on. And then there's also the business side of my AI and what I've been doing with it. And I've been downplaying myself for too long in that area. And I've just been watching everybody pop up and doing this thing. Exactly. People saying, I'm not sure what you do, and I'm not sure what I can work with you on, or do you still do this? That was a big indicator for me that I need to commit to one identity for this season. I also had to decide to let data be my co-signer of the thing that God has already called me to do and not my emotions and not my bank account. See, it was already in my numbers that the thing that was selling the most was AI. Anything AI related was selling best. And the fact that I kept running away from it because I knew I can sell this or I knew I could sell that. But the numbers supported the calling that God called me to. That was a big shift for me. And yes, when revenue gets down across the industry, a lot of us create new and create new and create new, but sometimes that's damaging your brand. Exactly that. I also had to build some systems before I had to build systems for the things that God had already called me to do. I was building systems for things that these were new ideas. And the crazy part about it is that these new ideas are things that I knew was out of alignment. Yet the thing that God called me to do, I didn't have the foundation for it. So I had to get real quiet and I had to decide, no, we're not doing this anymore. We're going to sit here and we're going to build the systems that support what you are doing. It's going to support what you are doing. And and let me address that. It's not going to be hard for me to stand out. I know for anyone else who might be getting into this, it might be harder for them to stand out, and I'm cool with that. I am sticking to my lane and I'm doing my lane. And I've always been a proponent of if you're someone who is in a certain lane and you want to incorporate AI and teach it to your people, like if you're a sales strategist and you want to make a sales dialogue GPT, do it. But my lane is going to be my lane and I ain't even worry about it, right? Like I'm going to always stand out. And the difference is because I'm no longer being disobedient. I used to think, oh, I'm very versatile. Oh, I'm very flexible. Oh, wait, hold on. I used to sound very versatile and flexible, but that also meant my boundaries were versatile and flexible. And when my boundaries were that way, that meant that I was being disobedient. If God told me don't do this and I did it anyway because I wanted money, when I sat down and I talked to my past clients and clients that I'm serving now, they shared some things with me. Rocky, constantly pivoting makes you look unpredictable. Constantly pivoting destroys the brand clarity and the trust. We want you to master this lane. We want you to scale in this lane. We want you to because you really are good at it. You're so freaking dope at it. So we want you to navigate this and we want you to do this. But you just keep moving all over the place. And so I had to make a decision to sit my ass down. That was all the first point that I wanted to make, my revelation. The second point, negotiation is the thief of your clarity. Negotiation is the thief. of your clarity, when you negotiate with yourself, you're not confused. A lot of times we're negotiating with ourselves, and negotiating with ourselves will choke our clarity faster than any demon ever could, because it shows up as you second guessing every instruction, every idea, every direction God gives you. You sabotage your own momentum. There were times in my business, Lord have mercy, y'all. Look, when I start moving a chair, that's when I know I'm in my zone. Hey, Drea, that's when I know I'm in my zone. But there were times in my business where I would negotiate myself out of momentum because somebody paid like 2, 3 thousand for this thing, where I knew I should have kept focused on that thing that I was building. Clarity requires us to be has you have to have a delusional amount of commitment if you want to be clear. And commitment requires surrender. I had to realize that by negotiating with myself is how I delayed my destiny while pretending like, oh, I'm seeking confirmation from God. Nah, there were times I was saying I was seeking confirmation from God, but what I was seeking confirmation from was my bank. I was delaying the thing that I knew I was supposed to launch. This community on school, both of them, the AI community and the Rooted Circle were supposed to both be on school. Literally took me, what, 11 months? No, 10 months to launch it. I wrote a proposal. I submitted a proposal to God and I said, God, I'm going to submit this proposal one day. I know I'm going to submit this proposal one day. And I did not move on it. I did not move on it. I did not make the shifts that I knew I needed to make in order for that proposal to become a reality. And what's funny, y'all, is the moment, and it's not funny, this is reality. The moment I decided to make this shift, this shift that God called me to make, why the exact proposal that I wrote in December of 2024 came on my desk last Thursday. You know how they say if I stay ready, I ain't got to get ready? I was so excited. It's due tomorrow. My proposal's already done because I already wrote it. I knew I was supposed to do it, but I delayed it. There was something else when I shifted and I knew I was supposed to go into this. First off, I got this vision in December of 2023. Hey, cousin. And December of 2024, I knew what I was supposed to be doing. I moved my website, moved my business over to a different system, and I was so excited. If y'all knew I talked about me moving my business over to a different system, I was so happy. But you know what I started doing? I started tweaking everything in the back end and trying to make the website this and this and that. Because honestly, sometimes we think we need more clarity, but in reality, we're trying to avoid rejection. We're trying to avoid mistakes. We're trying to avoid visibility. We're trying to avoid the thing because we feel like, oh, we're just not all put together. But when God calls you to do something, you need to do it and you need to sell. If you are tweaking more than you're selling, then that's a problem. The other part of this was the market had already asked me for this. I was posting videos on Sunday from the summer of 2023 when the market had asked me to come out and do my AI trainings. When I started doing my AI trainings in 2022, everyone was like, your trainings are so different. Your trainings are like you teach, like you going in. The market was calling for it, but I negotiated my way out of it and created something that was safer. I was waiting for a feeling instead of just following what God told me to do. Because sometimes we want peace before we move, but sometimes we just gotta move to get peace. We gotta move to get peace. Because we're not going to get peace before we move. If we're stuck, there's literally no peace being stuck. Can you imagine saying to yourself, I will, I will do this thing once I get out of the mud, but you decide to not move yourself out of the mud. So you're stuck in the mud and you're trying to figure out why you're not going nowhere. In reality, you still stuck in the freaking mud. So I had to say to myself, if I'm going to stop negotiating with not only myself, but with God, I have to cancel these internal negotiations immediately. Return to sender. We are no longer talking to ourselves. No maybe laters. No, none of that. No self-sabotage. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it. And we're going to do it scared. We're going to do it imperfectly. We're going to do it messy. We're going to make mistakes. And we might piss somebody off. I also had to decide delayed obedience creates disobedience. It's still it. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. So I had to start assigning deadlines because there were things I knew God had called me to do. And I'm like, look, you know what? Let me put this on the calendar. Let me do this. Let me do this. Let me do that. I decided to just act on just having clarity with God versus the fear of the unknown. Because I've talked to you guys about it. Sometimes I fear success. I have sabotaged my own success and I just I had to be fed up. And something really hit me. And I don't know who this is for. I don't know who this is for. Clarity is not, having clarity does not mean you are not going to have fear. Having clarity does not mean that there won't be fear. But deciding to follow God's instruction helps you to move despite it. And then I said to myself, data and discernment. Data and discernment. I got the data to back this up. The discernment is there. And I've noticed that since I've stopped negotiating with myself, I'm not inconsistent in my execution. I'm just doing it. I got a momentum. I'm doing it. I'm not going to let it destroy my revenue goals. I'm not going to allow emotional battles. I'm going to make decisions. I'm going to show up as a leader because I apologize to y'all. By me thinking that I'm the pivot queen or even allowing myself to believe that, I showed y'all it was okay to constantly operate in a place of just flip-flopping. So I apologize to you because I know that there are people that look up to me. But because I didn't trust my own direction and God's direction, and I'm admitting this, some of y'all thought it was okay for you to do what you was doing, but that's no longer here. I had to say, no, baby, you're not stuck, you just stalling. Let's move on to my third point because this is important. My third point is when I had to realize that my identity leads to assignment. And by having a pivot identity, meaning that I'm constantly shifting and moving, I was always going to be out of alignment. Nothing works in alignment if it's always moving. Once I accepted what my identity was, I accepted that led to me understanding my assignment, and that led to me having more alignment just in my life and in business. Because I know, like in real life, I'm gonna say what this looks like, y'all. Look, this chair, I be moving this chair. In real life, this is what it looks like. When when you are dealing with misidentification and lack of alignment, you feel like you don't know what lane you should be in. You feel like I could do bookkeeping or I can do helping you with your confidence. You just don't know. You don't trust yourself. You have lack of self-trust. Instead of mastering what you need to master to grow your trust, you start to you start to just look at everything and your trust just declines for you. Some of y'all create offers that don't even match who y'all truly are and y'all own true strength. And some of y'all feel pulled in about 15 different directions, and there's a reason why, because there's a lack of identity that creates competing priorities, which also leads to spiritual burnout. And that was me. So I had to choose again my God-given identity and commit to it. I had to build only what aligns with my God-given identity. And I had to look at my brand through this identity that I know that God has called me to and make the decision to shift into this new execution, this new identity-led execution. Because when I'm in this space where God has called me to be, it drives clarity. It drives having a consistent message. It drives having more aligned clients. It drives having more revenue. Because when people know what you do and they are clear on it, because you clear on it, baby, you cannot monetize confusion. You cannot monetize confusion. I don't care what nobody say. I wrote my little points down, y'all, because I wanted to stay on track. So I'm gonna go through my other two little points that I wrote down. Some of you, the other part of this was I was trying to scale something that God did not authorize. I just don't even feel like I need to make a big point on that one. I was trying to scale something that God did not authorize. You can grow a hustle, but you can't scale, but you can only scale a calling. Oh, when you are working out of alignment, you feel productive, but all of the productivity just continuously feels heavy. You be like, why? I feel like I got so much to do, and I ain't getting nothing from it. What's going on? Just busy, busy, busy. Why do I feel overwhelmed? Hmm, just launching stuff, burning out, attracting clients I don't want. Ooh, and don't talk about attracting clients you don't want, but they be ready to pay you. Feeling like you're always starting over. I had to really sit with God and say, God, you did not assign this to me. You did not assign this. I assumed it. And I had to eliminate anything that was not a part of my calling. I had to build the systems that support my calling. And I had to allow God to prune what doesn't belong so I can grow what does. You're building things that God didn't bless. My fifth point, doors really started to open for me when I chose my alignment over pivoting and reinvention because reinvention is addictive because it feeds your ego. Alignment is uncomfortable because it exposes your obedience. And when you stop pivoting and when you stop reinventing yourself and start aligning yourself, the doors you've been begging God to open start opening effortlessly. I told y'all I wrote a proposal in December of 2024, a response to a proposal. I had never seen what the proposal was going to look like. I told God, this is what I want. This is what I want to work with. This is who I want to do it with. This is the type of thing that I want to do. And I want you to bring it to me. In my heart, spirit, and mind and soul, I felt God say, bet. He said, bet. But you know what I did? I went and did something else. Like, daughter, didn't you just tell me this is what you're doing? So why are you going over here? When I decided to stick to the calling that I know God has called me to, and there's a couple things I want to share with y'all. Number one, I know God has called me to two lanes. He's called me to two streets in ministry, and I know He's called me to them. And I know more than ever now. And when I got to the first street and I made a commitment, blew up. Got to the second street, made a commitment, blew up. You get immediate results once you commit to what God called you to do. You start getting offered opportunities you didn't even apply for. You start having a certain kind of peace and even just a certain kind of like, oh, I can't wait to do this because there's lack of pressure now in your business. And the shifts that you need to make is you have to stop doubting God's direction. You have to commit to the lane that God gave you. You have to use your alignment for filter for decisions and your offers and your opportunities. And you have to move at the speed of obedience. Because when you move in at the speed of your obedience or you're being obedient, your brand starts to improve. You start to convert better. You get better clients. You just do different. Like everything's starting to do be different in your business. And that for me is what I love. Like all the things I told God I wanted, those are the things that He's showing up and giving to me. So when I stopped pivoting, when I stopped negotiating, when I accepted my identity, when I aligned with my assignment and my calling, I felt God commission me. And that's when I knew, like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And focusing on do the root work and focusing on the AI piece is a part of my calling. And I don't know what your calling is, but here's what I want you to say. Here's what I want you to know. If you constantly feel tension and confusion and pressure, you are not in alignment. And you need to do some checking of your roots. I hope y'all don't mind that I fussed at y'all today, but I had to share that. One of my commitments this year is to be more, more consistent by going live and connecting with my audience and the people I care for, the people I check up on. Um, And that has been my focus and my mission. And I'm going to do my best to stay committed to that. I also want to share with y'all that avoiding, that not doing it, all of that is only hindering you. With that being said, because I am a business owner that has a businessman, next Tuesday, I'm having a virtual Friendsgiving inside of my Rooted Circle. The Rooted Circle is my personal development space. It is where we, man, we just working on our ish, man. We not letting stuff hold us back no more. We're doing the work. We're holding ourselves accountable. We're taking ownership for our healing, and we're doing what needs to be done. If you're like, you know what, I want to join the Rooted Circle. I want a community where I have support. I have people who see me. It's not always about business. Join. There is an investment, but the investment has nothing to do with, let me just leave it at that. However, if you also are like, I want to join Conquer AI, Rocky, I want to join, guess what? We are on school. You can join us at the monthly price. The price is increasing on Black Friday. A lot of people are dropping their prices and creating all these offers for Black Friday. I'm raising all my prices. Just need y'all to know that. Okay, I got the links in the comments. Share this live. If you're watching it on the replay, put hashtag replay. Let me know if this was valuable. Let me know if you want more content like this. And if you want me to keep serving you in this way. I love y'all. I'm praying for y'all. Until the next time I see y'all, go out there and conquer your ish.